everyone, in this video we are going to learn how to count on by the unit fraction. Now let's do a review of what a unit fraction is. Here is a circle that has been divided into fourths. What is the fraction for the shaded part? Now first we have to see how many equal parts are shaded. There's only one. How many equal parts are there all together? There are 4. Now just as a reminder, a unit fraction always has a 1 as the numerator. Okay, so that's a unit fraction always has that number 1 at the top. So that's your review before we get into this lesson. Okay, so keeping in mind that a unit fraction always starts with the number 1, let's take a look at ways that we can count on. Okay, so let's take that same circle actually, and I'm going to draw it up here so I have a bit more space. I'm going to divide it into 4 equal parts again. And we decided that this first shaded part was 1/4. Now what if I wanted to count the rest of the equal parts in this whole shape? Well, if I shade a second part, what is the fraction now? If you said 2/4, you were correct. If I shaded a third part, what is my fraction now? If you said 3/4, you're correct. And finally, if I shade that final part, I get 4/4. Now, do you notice that 4/4 actually equals the whole shape? That equals 1. Okay, so once you get to the point where the numerator and the denominator are the same, that equals the whole shape, and that equals the number 1. Now I want you to take a look as we count it on 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. What do you notice stays the same the entire time as you're counting on? If you said that the denominator stays the same, you are correct. Now I want you to think about that. Why does the denominator always stay the same when you're counting on by the unit fraction? Well, if you said it's because the number of equal parts never changed. We had, at the beginning, 4 equal parts. That never changed. That's why the denominator stays the same. The only thing that did change was your numerator, because first we started by counting only 1 unit fraction. As we colored a second part, we added on. We counted a third part and then a fourth part until the entire shape was shaded. So when we're counting on, we start with a unit fraction, which is our first equal part that is shaded, and then we count on, and it's the numerator that increases by 1 each time. Okay, so keeping that in mind, what if I took away the visual? On page 68 of your Jump Math book, question number 1 is going to start with a unit fraction. Let's say it starts with a unit fraction of 1/3. Okay, if I wanted the next fraction, I want you to think about, if we're counting on, what the next fraction would be. Now, do you remember that the denominator has to stay the same? Because if I have 3 equal parts, that's not going to change. But the numerator changes by how many? So if I had 1/3 and I added another equal part, I would get 2/3. Now, if I want to count all the way to the whole shape, to fill in the whole shape, remember the denominator stays the same, and I'm counting on. I had 1/3, 2/3, and then finally 3/3, and 3/3 equals the whole shape. Do you notice that the denominator stayed the same, and the numerator increased by 1 each time? So when you're doing question number 1 in your Jump Math book, page 68, you are going to be counting on by the unit fraction, okay? When you're doing number 2, they are going to give you a shape, and it starts with a unit fraction. And the first shape they're going to start with is a circle. Okay, so let's take a look at, maybe it's divided into thirds, and one part is shaded. Okay, now with this, they're going to put a box right beside it, and I'm going to call this a fraction box because we're going to write the fraction in this box. Okay. So what is the fraction, the unit fraction for this shape? Well, how many parts are being counted? 1. How many equal parts are there? There's 3. Okay, so 1/3 is the unit fraction for this. This is our starting point as we're going to count on to count all the shapes in this shape. Now, I want you to take note. There are 1, 2, 3 equal parts. If I'm going to count on, I need to have 3 fraction boxes that will represent my counting on until I reach the whole shape. And this is what it's going to look like in your book. Okay? Now, to start my counting on, I'm going to take my first unit fraction. I always start with my unit fraction when I'm counting. So this number is going to start in that box there. Okay, 1/3 is my starting point. Now if I'm going to count on, and now I'm going to add in this shape, what is my next fraction? Well, we remember the denominator stays the same, and I just added, now I have 2 equal parts. I had one, I added another, now I have 2/3. And finally, if I were to fill in this final part, what would my final fraction be if I'm counting on by the unit fraction? My denominator stays the same. I still have 3 equal parts. Do you see that? But now I'm counting 1, 2, 3. And once I've colored all 3 parts, I have colored the whole shape, and we know that 3 equals 1 whole. Okay, so that's how it's going to be set up for question 2 in your Jump Math book. The key thing to remember is the box beside the shape is where you write the unit fraction. I want you to take that unit fraction and put it as your starting point as you count on. Okay, so do you notice that you wrote the unit fraction twice and then you count on? All right, so that's going to be question number 2. For question number 3, they do the same thing. However, they're going to give you a box. So I'm going to draw a square, and I'm going to divide it into fourths. But to do that, I'm going to go like this. Okay, now I want you to think, what is the unit fraction for this shape if I color one of the equal parts? And I'm going to draw it in a fraction box right beside the shape, because that's how it's set up in your book. So what is the fraction for this shaded part? We count 1. It's a unit fraction. I can see that because only one part is shaded, and I see that there are 4 equal parts in total. That is my starting point as I'm going to count on by the unit fraction. Now, because there's 4 equal parts, I'm going to draw, and this will be in your Jump Math book. It needs to have 4 boxes, 4 fraction boxes, so I can count all the parts in the whole. Okay? Who remembers what goes in this box? Did you remember that the unit fraction is our starting point? So I'm going to write 1/4 because we start with 1. We're counting 1 part first. Now I want you to think what the next few boxes are going to be. If I'm counting on and I'm starting with 1/4, what will my next fraction be? Well, did you say 2/4? Because if you did, you are correct. So if I have 2 parts shaded, now it's 2/4. What would my next fraction be? Do you notice a pattern here? If you said 3/4, you are correct. And finally, what's that last fraction going to be? And that equals the whole shape. If you said 4/4, and I color in that last part, then you are correct. So when I'm counting by fourths, there's going to be 4 fractions till I reach the whole. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Okay? And that's how you're going to do question number 3 in your Jump Math book. So what you're going to look for is this pattern of a shape for both questions 2 and 3. They will give you a shape that has a fraction unit. Beside it will be a box. I'm going to call that a fraction box. You will write your unit fraction here. Okay, unit fraction goes here. This unit fraction will be your starting point as you count on. And because there's only 2 equal parts in that, I would only need 2 fraction boxes. Okay, remembering that whatever you write in this box beside the shape is going to be your starting point when you're counting on. Okay, so as our final review, what is the unit fraction for this shape? If you said 1/2, you are exactly right. 1 part is shaded. There are 2 equal parts. Numerator, denominator. This is going to be our starting point when we're counting all the fractions in the whole. All right, so I just rewrite 1/2 in the box down below. Now if I want to count the second part, what's my fraction going to be? I know my denominator stays the same because look, the equal parts aren't changing, but I'm going to count 1 more part. So my next number would be 2. Okay, so 1/2, 2/2, and then I'm done because I've reached the whole shape. Okay, everybody, that's your job for today. Do questions 1, 2, and 3 on page 68 in your Jump Math book. Okay, enjoy.